treatment of a distal radius and ulnar fracture using the 2.5 adaptive 2 distal radius and ulnar plate by Professor Dr. Tim Lögters, head of the Department of Trauma, Orthopedic and Hand Surgery, Selattinen Hospital St. Vinzenz, Cologne, Germany. In this case, we are treating a 60-year-old patient with an extra-articular fracture of the radius and ulnar of the right arm. Anatomical landmarks and approach. In the previous operation, the skin incision was moved far medially, as this increases the risk of irritation of the median nerve. In this new fracture fixation, however, we use the previous skin incision and then take the Henry approach. Here's a quick overview of the key anatomical landmarks to be mindful of during the procedure. In addition, we'll address the ulnar fracture by operating in an upright, vertical neutral position. The upright position keeps both flexor and extensor tendons in a neutral position. We start with the palmar approach. First, we identify the palmaris longus tendon. As we proceed, we observe the median nerve, which is more exposed due to the medial approach. Usually, we would expect to see the flexor carpi radialis with the standard approach here. To restore the standard approach, we identify the flexor carpi radialis tendon and open the tendon sheets and keep the flexor tendons ulnar-wards. We now carefully detach the pronator quadratus to expose the radius fracture. The unstable radius fracture is now clearly visible. I'll use a raspatory to manipulate and reposition the fracture into its normal alignment. Once aligned, we stabilize the hand with a roll to maintain this position. Fracture fixation. For fixation, we will use the Medartis 2.5 adaptive plate. Using the plate holding instrument, we first secure the plate in the oblong hole. We drill, measure the depth, and insert a golden cortical screw. Afterward, we check the X-ray to confirm the plate's position. The position should be checked in lateral and dorsopalmar projection. Next, we fix the plate proximally using 2 TriLock screws in the shaft. To achieve final distal repositioning, we place a roll beneath the hand and flex it to reduce the fracture and restore the dorsopalmar angle. Using an elevator in the central hole of the second row, we stabilize the fracture and secure the distal holes with locking screws. For optimal stabilization, I'll place at least 4 screws in the distal and 1 screw in the second row. In this case, however, a second screw was placed in the second row ulnarward to further stabilize the ulnar column in an unstable distal forearm fracture. Now, let's review the final X-ray result. In summary, the distal part of the fracture is secured with 4 TriLock locking screws, and 2 additional locking screws are placed in the second row. Proximally, we have 1 cortical screw in the oblong hole and locking screws in both the proximal shaft and plate. The plate fits well, and the pronator quadratus can now be reattached. Wound closure. We close the wound with Vicryl 3.0 subcutaneous and the skin by Optyline 3.0. Ulna fracture. Next, we address the ulnar fracture in an upright, vertical position. As the radius is stable, this position offers a comfortable visualization and prevent from rotational forces of the distal fragment in this neutral position. The incision is made between the flexor carpi ulnaris and extensor carpi ulnaris. Here, you can see the fracture, with the pronator quadratus muscle adjacent to it. Operating in a neutral position allows the fracture to align itself naturally. Fixation of the ulnar plate. We place the ulnar plate on the palmar side, where it fits well. First, we secure the plate in the oblong hole, measure the depth, and insert a 2.5 mm cortical screw. You can see the fracture line and the various options available for fixation. It is important that the shaft of the ulnar plate, right image in supination, is placed on the volar side. We place 2 more screws proximally in the shaft to secure the plate to the bone. We then fix the distal screws and revisit the fracture to ensure optimal stabilization with multiple screw options. Monocortical drilling is recommended for the projection of the DIUJ. Here, we see the 6th dorsal compartment with the extensor carpi ulnaris tendon. Finally, we perform a mobility check before taking the last X-rays. Mobility check shows a free range of motion for extension and flexion as well as for pro and supination. X-rays confirm the correct plate position. It is important to represent the joint space of the DIUJ, as screws in the distal part must not disturb the joint. Closure. The wound is closed with Vicryl 3:0 subcutaneous and the skin with Optyline 3:0. Finally, I carry out a final check of mobility. Rotational mobility is particularly important. This patient looks very good. Here you can see the final X-ray results.